Why, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Uh, Thank you all for coming today. Uh, my name is Riot Control, also known as Gio Giovanni, and we're going to be talking about Warwheeling. Uh, this might be a little bit of a different talk than what everyone may be expecting here at DEF CON. We're not going into too much of the technicals of, oh, this is what we're doing, we're hacking, we're doing these crazy exploits. This is more of the palate cleanser to kind of bridge both groups of one-wheelers and radio enthusiasts, war drivers, and to bring those two commonalities together. So this is me. I'm a part of multiple DEF CON groups. I'm very active in the local South Florida community. We got your DCG 561, DCG 305, Southwest Florida Sec, Hack Miami, and my South Florida one-wheel crew. Of course, professionally, I am a SOC incident responder. I've been doing that for the past 2.5 years. I've been in IT in general for 5 years, but the last 2 years, really 3 now, has been a lot more fun and just I've been more involved into this community aspect, especially just doing what we love to do, as just war drive and one wheel at the same time. So I'm sure everyone here is extremely familiar with what war driving is, but in the off chance that it might be the first time or you're not too sure, you're actively seeking and mapping Wi-Fi networks while in motion, typically using a vehicle. The main platform that we're all using here is wiggle.net, but of course, if you're running your own gear, you can hold on to that. You can use it with other software or learn, figure out how to map it. And as simple as using Google Maps, you can view the points of all the SSIDs that you've seen in that last run. In my opinion, it's much more fun to do this as a group since you can get into friendly competition, especially on the Wiggle platform where that's kind of baked into the whole process. Of course, disclaimer, Wardriving isn't illegal since you're really only recording what is broadcasting publicly. Don't be a skid, don't do anything fishy while you're in motion because it'll just get police and other enforcement reason to stop you or just like, hey, don't do that. But what can you typically war drive with? Well, it's going to be its own spectrum from as simple as your pair of tennis and a phone and you're just war walking, and it goes exponentially more complex where you're ending up like dark matter with the Wi-Fi cactus and busy signal with just a plethora of Wi-Fi cards all built into like a gaming PC. We have gaming PCs where you can get your own GPU running Crysis or running Doom at like 4K, 8K resolution. Here we can do just the same, but seeing all the Wi-Fi nearby in the spectrum. But where would I categorize warwheeling? Or really, what is warwheeling? You're just on a one wheel. You are on a PEV, going about your day with your devices on your bag, and you are simply exploring. The inert nature of one-wheeling by yourself or even in a group is just to go outside, enjoy the weather, see things you haven't been to before, but it's mostly can be, you could always do it solo, but look for your local group rides, and everybody is more than welcome. Like, they're very welcoming and bringing in new people, showing them the ropes, especially in more populated areas where certain, police or security don't like one-wheelers or people running on their bike paths, but that's fine. The reason why I think one-wheeling is it's a avid component for war driving is just how dexterous you can be in certain areas, especially for driving or riding in a city. Like, there's reasons why you would take a bike to work, but then you can go through areas in a one-wheel that even bikes can't reach. Of course, it's going to be as heavy as a bicycle, but you can still bring it with you in an elevator. You can stow it underneath your desk at the end of the day or when you get into work. And then once you want to go for a lunch ride, jump on your wheel and you go for it. You're asking, but why? Why go through all this effort on a one wheel? You can explore. There's so many things that you can go out there. It's pretty much like Pokemon Go, where you're just collecting your Wi-Fi, your access points, and you're adding it into the total school board. Of course, you may be just running your cell phones, or you may be just using it as a learning experience. When I started about 2 years ago, like everyone else, I'm just on an Android phone running Wiggle, and then I get a second Android phone. But then I really started thinking, like, I want to know how far, like, what can I do, and start building myself. Then I start to meet new people and network, and then I learn about different open source projects. For instance, shout out to Jay Hewitt and the Wardriver.uk project. They released the PCBs and the Gerber files publicly on their webpage, and anyone can get the bill of materials and put it together. I also have various amounts of swag and these exact PCBs, so if you guys would like to pick up a board, I will have some on the table, as well as stickers and other goodies. So just from Onewheeling, I really haven't explored South Florida as much as I would have liked to, and working in IT keeps you behind a desk many hours a day, and jumping in between like living in the city and wanting to have better access for transportation, it's like, all right, well, the Onewheel for me seems like the better option, but more so when you are out in these groups, they take you to areas, they show you their local areas. Like, you'll always have that subject matter expert in their neighborhood to tell you, like, oh, hey, let's go to the beach, but you're not going to take the main road. There's these trails that, really it's just for the walkers. You'll see, and it's like, once you reach like your first sunset, it's like, dang, this is really nice. I want to do this again. And then you're just constantly out there just catching the rays, meeting new people. In the bottom picture, that is the South Florida Onewheel group. You have a bunch of cast of characters. You have the owner of Armadillos. They have excellent bike sealants, tire sealants specifically for PEVs. These are the sealants that they would use for one-wheel like racing leagues that happen all over the country. Same thing, there's EUCs that are the electric unicycles. When you're riding it, instead of riding it like a skateboard, it's in between your legs, so you're going forward. In my opinion, those are pretty hardcore too, but everyone, no matter what the group ride is, you're more than welcome to join, as long as you flow with the vibe, keep up, and you don't fuck it up. This is us going down to Miami, where I did my first extended Warwheel ride, and from it, we went around the Miami International Airport. And this is my first time doing any sort of like long ride throughout the night, and that was a very, very long day, since the board battery died multiple times. We had to, find a random open outlet just to like steal power for like 10 minutes to get back to the car. But from it, I just discovered that in groups of just one-wheelers, you're able to get into areas that like, you don't look suspicious. You're just a group of dorks just on a one-wheel, just kind of going around together. So they kind of just look the other way. But for here, we were able to get pretty close to the not the entry, but this corner right here, where you would be able to see all these airplanes come in. Like, there's plane spotting areas in Miami International Airport, but you're much further away. But on the wheels, we're able to get basically in the staff parking lot and just see Boeings and 737s just fly overhead. It's just its own thing that would not have been possible without Wardriving / one-wheeling in these areas. And from that night, it was, to me, it was impressive. It was like 16,900 brand new discovered. And from it, it's like, okay, maybe there is a way to make this a bit more efficient. Then the next weekend, we did another group ride all the way from Aventura straight down to Brickell. And that on its own was a 20-mile ride, over 2 hours. When the ride stops, the time pauses. And that was by far the largest one that I got from that single ride, one direction, which was 30,000 net new added to the board. And so it gets me thinking, like, wow, with one-wheeling, you're able to go through the alleys, you're able to go through walkway paths, but when you have a group of other wheelers, you can start to form your own like kind of group culture. And online, this is what we refer to as Warwheeling. And as part of the hashtag Wardriving group, I was able to network and find others in that like that had that same like headspace of, yeah, I one wheel. I don't want to bike or drive in a car because gas is expensive or it's too bulky. Let's just go for a ride. And big shout out, homie in the back, DZ. At the same time, I was posting on Instagram, Wardriving with a one wheel. He was doing the exact same thing on the other side of the coast, which was insane. And I'm thinking, like, were they already out here? It's like, no, like, it was just slowly kind of cropping up. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's fun to do. What is old is new again. Sure, you have your war driving on a bicycle, war driving on a skateboard, but then you get your war wheeling, and I don't know. The ethos of a one-wheeler, I believe, aligns very closely to hackers and war drivers in general, because one, it's a little bit of like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, but most importantly, a lot of these guys don't see themselves as hackers, but they just want their one wheel unlocked and they're able to, add more battery, get more power from it. And they start to enter that hardware hacking side of things where it's like, all right, how do we make this easier? If anybody knows about Future Motion, they're the ones who released the one wheel product and brought it to market. And they follow in the similar footpaths as Apple, where they have to lock down their hardware, their software, in a sense of safety, which understandably I get what they're coming from. This is an omnidirectional wheel of death where if you were to take the wrong step, wrong bump, the board can just fail out of nowhere and you're looking at a pretty bad accident. I had something happen to me this past year. At the end of the slides, if you guys aren't squeamish, I can show you what's going on. But these toys really aren't toys to be taken lightly. But it's still a lot of fun. Like, the moment I fell off, I got back on in no time. So here is a screenshot from the Worldwide War Drive, first one that took place all the way back in 2002. And altogether, from what was seen, was less than 10,000 new Wi-Fi just discovered during that competition, which 2002, finding 9,000 of any Wi-Fi is its own feat, especially just spread across like just a few groups. And from this time, last year's Worldwide War Drive, I participated as like a war wheeler, and I pushed myself to keep driving down to a minimum. But from it, I was more impressed on how much I was able to find between like, dense cities of Palm Beach, your Miami, and anywhere in between. And even though I, at the time, did not place high up in the rankings because it was all scored based off of finding certain foxes in that area that you have to choose. But for net new discovered, between my method of just on a one wheel and finding cities and going into the nooks and crannies, to my eyes, like getting into the 5th place for just that discovery, I think that was pretty fun. This year, I wasn't able to participate in the War Drive, but I saw the many fierce competition that was happening on the leaderboards. You had incredibly creative rigs being built left and right. And from the screenshot was just the amount of the area that I selected at the time. And if you were to take a hint of where I was living at the time, when I first moved into the downtown area, it was very barren, empty, maybe like a snail trail of a passing war driver from a few years ago. But over time, from just living in the area, from on a one wheel, just growing and growing, it just ended up becoming an ever-growing blob of just purple, which part of the reason why I like to use Wiggle, I just like to see that spread of just what have you found. It's like, I don't know, a little bit of RPG tabletop where you're slowly taking over your neighboring counties. from it, just the resources and screenshots that I did share from the slides. And keep that up for a little second here. And if you want to stay in the loop, I am Riot Control on Instagram and on Twitter, as well as if you guys have any questions or you want to talk about one-wheeling or Wardriving, I'm all for it. But I did mention I did come into an accident last year. Immediately in October, the day after B-Sides Orlando, I went on a group ride with the Orlando crew. Florida is famous for just being a flat sea level state where you can roll a rock and it will just probably stay where it is. I went to a city where it was incredibly hilly and broke my collarbone because the board itself wasn't rated for those inclines and hills. Thankfully, the group and the neighbors that were there helped me out from it, but the x-rays that came from it were pretty gnarly. Who would like to see the x-rays? I got 1, 2, 3. Wow, you guys are jerks. I was gonna say no, don't do it. All right, well. Content warning. Are you guys really sure you want to see this? You guys are sleepy. Are you really sure? Like, absolutely. Well, there it is. Yeah. When I went to get that x-ray, the doctor looked at it. He's like, yeah, that's a Z break. I'm like, what's a Z break? It's like, you see that bone that's sideways? It's not supposed to do that. And I'm like, what I gotta do? Well, we're gonna have to put a metal pipe and 6 screws through your collarbone to keep it from moving around. And I'm like, all right. And soon after, I escaped from the hospital. Can't catch me with those bills. But really, almost instantly afterwards, I jumped back on the board, didn't let it, ruin it, because for me, I still see the spirit of one-wheeling and group rides far more important. Of course, you have to be careful. You have to know what your board is rated for and fix it next time so it doesn't happen again. And the place where I crashed happened in front of this wonderful woman's house while they were doing like a little garage sale, yard sale. And back in March, 4 months after the accident, we came back as a group and I gave her flowers and said thank you. So I'm going to end it off on this little comic strip that I just absolutely love. And it goes like this. We got to talk. Oh, that doesn't sound too good. It's not. Really, dude? You can't keep one-wheeling away from your problems, Brian. But he totally could. And it was awesome. Thank you. That's my talk. Any questions? The question is, if I switch to a VESC. So, to answer quickly, no, I haven't switched yet. But what a VESC is basically a jailbroken one-wheel. You can either buy it pre-made, or there are drop-in kits you can purchase where all you got to do is switch out the controller board and you have a working one-wheel without any of future motions, dilly-dallying. Good question. Anywhere else? Questions? There's no questions. I have stickers and swags and PCBs, and feel free to come up. Thank you all, everyone. Been a great crowd.